even to this point, before we leave this loose cannon topic and move on to Bricc Baby, which I want to talk about specifically,
right.
Loose Cannon from Holden, from jail, has been calling in to No Jumper and calling in
every other day.
Yeah,
every other day.
This why
calling in and talk about nothing. Why is you calling in talking on the federal phone to talk about the case and what's going on and what Big U? I think I heard him. He called in. He called in to say Big U was trying to make Bricc Baby take all the charges. Big U tried to get Bricc Baby to sign some paper, bro, that give him responsibility for all the charges, bro. You know, he called in talking about that. And I'm just like, bro, when you calling in from jail, bro, the internet got you in a headlock. When you just can't sit down and just try to think about, all right, what do I need to do to get myself out of this situation without having to tell on people? Let me talk to my lawyer. You worried about the internet, bro. You in too deep. That's how I know you an internet gangster. You internet banging. Come on, bro. You facing a whole RICO and you still can't leave the internet alone. You got to call in. You can't. This the rest of your life potentially that we talking about, and you still got to get on the internet.
So
deep, bro. You internet gangster.
Something is up with that, man. That's why I go back to where they said something might not be. I'm not for sure. I ain't no doctor or nothing. But like, why in the world are you doing this? Like, your lawyer is not telling you not to keep providing info?
That's fentanyl. That's deadly like fentanyl.
You talking about clout?
Yeah, that internet attention, that clout, bro. It's deadly like fentanyl. It's just as deadly.
It would seem so, man. It seems so. Now, next, I wanted to ask you about Bricc Baby, man. So Bricc Baby is probably one of the most well-known people who to be a host at No Jumper, you know, just off of name value. Like, you can remember T-Rail, you can remember AD and them, but they kind of fade to the back when you start thinking about like Bricc Baby's presence on that platform, right? He's like, he held the mantra, I should say, as being a real street dude and being able to podcast and, you know, put the stories in there with it, right? And then he was a rapper, so he had industry friends and stuff like that. Now, from his perspective, what do you think about his case? Because he's got another case attached to this one.
Yeah, was you talking about when they went in his house and found them guns?
Yeah. Now they've unsealed that completely. It's been completely unsealed. And man, some of the stuff in there is crazy. Like there was threats that were allegedly being made, all sorts of dealings. There was one part where it kind of alleged that he was going to do something to his baby moms just to get her out of the way, because I don't know if she knew too much info or whatever. Like, it was a lot going on. Now, what do you think about Bricc Baby's whole situation? Because he's essentially fighting two cases.
Man, I think Bricc Baby's in a he in between a rock and a hard place right now. The things they got on Bricc Baby, I don't see how he can beat it. Like, bro might as well be trying to figure out how to get some type of deal, bro. A plea deal where he just, hey, man, I did it, and maybe they'll cut his tongue. Well, let me not say that, bro, because it seemed like YoungBoy can beat anything. It seemed like YoungBoy get off on whatever.
Boy, what? I was shocked. I was legit shocked.
Let me not say that.
They said YoungBoy. They said YoungBoy was in. They said he was in the halfway house. Next thing you know, he in Idaho talking to some old.
He already back in Utah. He already back on Grave Digger Mountain. So.
Talking to some old lady. I was like, what in the world going on here?
Yeah, bro. So I don't know. Like I said, I used to be terrified of. I used to hear the Fed. I used to think, oh yeah, you getting 50 for sure. Now, what's it called? They done let Lil Zay Osama. I still want to know how he only got what? What Lil Zay Osama get for that switch? Like 10 months.
Yeah, 10 months. It was something like that. It was something crazy.
It was something crazy. So he beat the feds. It's basically took 10 months. YoungBoy had over 60-something charges, drug charges, gun charges.
And caught dead to rights. Like caught straight
dead
out.
To rights. Ended up getting like 2 years. So it might work out for him, bro.
Yeah, it's a coin flip. But
yeah,
it got me looking at Lil Durk like maybe he could beat it. Maybe I don't know.
Because I used to think Lil Durk was cooked. I ain't gonna lie to you. Know, last interview we did, I thought Lil Durk was done for.
Yeah,
But
you
like
said that specifically. You had a clip go crazy where you was like, "Yo, he's hibachi." You know what I'm saying?
He hibachi. You know what I'm saying? But now it's like, bro, I'm seeing this. We seeing it right now. People getting crazy deal with the feds, bro. Crazy deal with the feds. So it's like I said, it's one of them things where you just gotta sit and let it play out.
Now, here's a question, Zay. Do you think it's because they're taking on too many cases lately? Because have you noticed that the feds have started taking on, and King Yella, he made this point, the feds have been starting to take on cases they normally used to just be like, that's not worth our time. It used to be when you would hear somebody got a Fed case or they being indicted by a feds, they usually a big dog from the hood, somebody who was getting money. They already on mansion level.
It seems like they the internet police now. It seems like the feds coming for anybody on the internet.
Yep. Do you think that
they're trying to make an example? They trying to get their point across, but they starting to wear they self thin now, bro. Because it's like it used to ain't be this easy to get a Fed case. Now it seems like it's too easy to get a Fed case.
And King Yella made that point in our last interview. He said, or in our interview before that, he said that this is the brokest the feds has ever been. He said he went to the feds. He said he went to the feds this time. His last time, he was like, well, it was the first time. This time, he was the only one on the case, and it was for a gun. So he went and did the feds, and there was dudes in the feds that just weren't big dogs. It was like a bunch of broke dudes in there. It was still the same old heads from back in the day. So you can see the changing. You can see the changing dynamic.
They trying to squeeze every dollar they can. It's going on. It's definitely, I mean, the times we living in, bro, I can see it. I can see the feds going broke, you know. That's the federal government, you know what I'm saying? So they rely on the president, whatever the president doing, the market, the economy. You know, that's what they rely on. Whether the state just rely on, all right, the state, we just get our state. You know, whatever the state revenue, that's what the state rely on.
Yep.
The feds rely on everything. So if they got to take money from the feds to do this, to buy something from China or something, or to get new military weapons and stuff, then that's going to leave them, their pockets hurting. So it's like, I can definitely see it. I can definitely see the feds going broke, and now they just trying to squeeze everybody for a little dollar. You got a little rap money, you got your little rap money, a little podcast money, a little something, they trying to come squeeze you for your dollar.
Yeah, because it seemed like with Bricc Baby's case, they had been on him early. So his whole time working up at No Jumper, this is an interesting twist, and I want your take on this. His whole time working up at No Jumper, he was pretty much on that first Fed case. He was still had that lingering over his head that whole time. So it made me look different at the way that him and Wack 100 interacted. You know what I'm saying? Why they didn't like each other or whatnot, or their beef, because Bricc Baby knew he had a Fed case.
Don't like Wack. Never met Wack, and I don't like Wack. I ain't never seen that man a day in my life, and I don't like the nigga. So I can see why Bricc Baby don't like the nigga. But the feds had already came to his crib, bro. So Bricc Baby knew that they was on his bumper, bro. So really, he should have been on his best behavior, bro. Because you already know, once the feds enter the chat, they don't leave, bro. Once they start watching you, they're not going to stop watching you until they got you.
And he was behaving, according to the indictment, not like that. Like, he was still wilding on the podcast. I think he might have thought that, and I'm not going to speak for what he thought because I don't know, but it seemed like what he thought was everything that was on the podcast wasn't really, going to come back to bite him. And to see it in the paperwork, like in the legit paperwork, all the podcast clips, all the things he said on No Jumper in there, it's crazy, man. It's pretty wild.
Well, like I said, it would be crazy to me if I didn't go through it, bro. This how deep our paperwork got, right? So when I had got locked up, the first time me and Nadi got into it, whatever, bro, I'm reading through the paperwork. It got so deep that they had another YouTuber who is not even in Texas, who we don't even know, who we never seen. All he did was take our content and post it on his channel.
Okay, one of those guys.
His name was Rick. He in our paperwork.
What?
Because he was taking our content and posting it to his channel, the people was also watching his channel. And so if you go, they took some evidence from his channel, and so he was in our paperwork. Whatever, like they'd say like the argument, whatever, or whatever they want to say, and in parentheses it would say from Rico the Black Man. Just because they started watching his channel because they knew, okay, well, he posting so we missed something over here. We know he gonna take it, clip it, and post it on his channel. So it's a dude that we don't even know. Never seen a day in our life, not even in Texas, bro. All he was doing was taking our content. He was in our paperwork.
That's what. So hold up. You've never talked about your paperwork before. This is interesting. So in y'all paperwork, how much podcast material was in there?
At least half of it.
All right. I'm gonna be brave, and I'm gonna ask this on camera, and I'll even post the answer. Yo, I wouldn't. Was I in there?
Nah, you weren't in there.
Whoo! There we go. There we go. I said I'm gonna ask on camera.
Yeah, you good, man. They ain't have you.
Okay, man. Okay, I don't need that kind of love. You know what I'm saying? That's
no, but that shit was crazy to me though. When I seen that, I'm like, bro, this dude don't do nothing but take our content and post it on his channel.
Now
I started watching him just because.
Now this is the wild part. Now, Zay, were you able to decipher? Was it the fact that they were watching him that brought heat on y'all, or was it the other way around?
Nah, it was definitely the other way around. Okay. I ain't gonna lie, we was doing that shit, bro. Like I said, we up here on podcast, we talking, we honestly thinking it's nothing, bro. You know what I'm saying? But then we talking crazy, they get to pulling us over, we getting caught with guns, and we get caught with a certain amount of drugs, and you know what I'm saying? So that's what really put the heat on it, bro. That's what really put the heat on it, bro, for real. We was up there talking crazy. Like I said, we was thinking like you was thinking like, well, ain't no police listening to us. Ain't no police watching us and nothing like that, bro. Because all we doing, we just talking, bro. Like, it's freedom of speech. But, bro, once they get to pulling you over and you getting caught with guns and they believe in everything you saying on their podcast, bro. Everything you say on the podcast, they not looking at it like, oh, he just talking. He not really like that. We know he just talking. No, bro. They're going to assume that you are speaking 100% facts and they're going to come for you. And if you really are speaking facts, you're a fraud. You out of there.
Dang. So with that all being said, from your situation, what is your outlook on some of Bricc Baby's latest like things that he did? Because remember, him and Loose Cannon and the indictment, everybody didn't get arrested until the day after Loose Cannon and him had their first face-to-face on the No Jumper podcast.
Right.
They had their first face-to-face. Bricc Baby was in the purple outfit. He had the gun on his waist, allegedly, right? And he showed it to him. And you could tell that there was tension between them, but they're like dissing each other in the slight way. So they're where they get it, but everybody else doesn't have to interrupt the conversation. You know what I'm saying? So It's like, and then there's a scene where Bricc Baby kind of shows what looks like a gun, and that ended up in the indictment. The indictment was printed like, I want to say like the next day or whatever. They put the summary out there. But when they unsealed Bricc Baby's indictment, March 18th, the same individual whom defendant previously threatened and claimed to have more skulls than he had squabbles, and I'm reading this straight out of the indictment, during the same podcast, during the filming, defendant showed that he had a handgun in his waistband.
Yeah.
And they have the picture from the podcast in the indictment. How do you refute all that? You know what I'm saying? It's like, from your experience, what do you think?
That's when they gonna come, bro. That's when they come, bro. That's when they gonna come when they see that it's looking like it escalated to where somebody gonna lose their life, bro. That's definitely when they gonna come. You see, look, a lot of people got it like, oh, the feds want money. They not coming after you unless you get a lot of money. No, the feds don't come until the violence come in, bro. You could be up. You can run up $2, $3, $4 million doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, bro. But once somebody die from that, it's over with. Like once they see that a life is in jeopardy, it's over with, bro. That's when they coming, bro. So when Bricc Baby did that and he showed the little gun or whatever, it's over with after that, bro. It's over. First off, because you ain't even supposed to have no gun, bro. So the fact that we done already kicked in your door and caught you with guns that you weren't supposed to have. So now you up on a podcast and you got a pistol on your hip knowing you ain't supposed to have no gun, bro. They not going to take the risk with that. They going to come in and shut all that shit down.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that, Bricc Baby was so bolden, because when I look at it, they were watching him from the first time that he caught his gun case, right? His Fed case, right? They said they had heavy surveillance on him. They even had CCTV footage being monitored on him. So, like,
you know where that come from, bro? That come from that I got the internet clout. I got to show people I'm really a real street nigga. I'm really ain't nothing to play with. Why do you got to show that to me? Why you got to show that to the internet, to us? If somebody play with you in real life, then you spank them. But why are you up here trying to prove to us, people who ain't gonna never see you, bro? We'll never see Bricc Baby a day in our life. Why do you got to prove to us that you just so much like that you just really like that? I don't understand it.